People and purpose are key drivers of performance, but are most often overlooked. The reshaping of our society is demanding a more engaged workforce to achieve on all fronts. Yet, most organizations often don't know how. They are forced to rethink what they stand for, the stories they tell, and how they are articulating and living on their purpose. I'm your host, Michelle Roberts, and welcome to Purpose First. Learn how top business leaders think, act, and achieve more by turning businesses into movements, by putting people and purpose first.
I'm pleased to welcome Lindsey McCoy, CEO of Plaine Products, as my guest today. How are you, Lindsey?
Good, Michelle. How are you doing?
Good. So Lindsey has spent 10 years running environmental education nonprofits in the Bahamas islands that are full of single-use plastic. After her return to the United States, she and her sister co-founded Plaine Products in February 2017 in order to help minimize single-use plastic and reduce waste in bathrooms across the country. Plaine Products offers premium personal care products in uniquely sustainable packaging, aluminum bottles that can be returned for free, refilled, and reused. Based in Cincinnati, Ohio, all of the products are vegan, non-GMO, cruelty-free, biodegradable, color-safe, and free of paraffins, sulfates, and toxins. Good for the body and the planet. That's amazing. That was a mouthful as well. I think you got all your bases covered there. Plaine Products. Plaine Products is a BCorp, yay, and a member of the 1% for the planet. So, welcome.
Yes. Sorry. No, I don't think I have anything left to talk about. I think you covered it all.
I don't think. There's nothing that your products. There's no hint of cruelty or anything in there. You've done so much work. And I would, we're going to talk a lot today about your journey, the plastic problem in general, and sort of how, what I specifically really love is that, most people take a company and then they try to integrate a mission into the company, but you chose to choose a mission first and build a business around it. So yes. I would love to start there and sort of hear, you were at the Bahamas, you saw what was happening. What made you stop and think there's a big enough issue here that I want to build a business around this?
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting question. So my background, as you mentioned, is actually in nonprofit management. So I did that in Colorado for 5 or 6 years and then moved to the Bahamas where my husband's from, and really got involved in the environmental movement there. My only qualifications was that I lived in Boulder, Colorado, and that I knew what zero waste was from the farmer's market. Got to work with a lot of amazing scientists, got to see a lot of beautiful places there, and kept running into single-use plastic everywhere. And without the same infrastructure that we have here to make things disappear when we throw them away, you just see it. And the reality of plastic never going away, you can't ignore it in the same way that we get to here. So I started doing the things that a lot of us are doing now, carrying the reusable water bottle, carrying the reusable shopping bags. And one place I couldn't find a solution for was all of those little plastic bottles in my shower. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, if I'm not by any stretch, even to this day, I am nowhere close to perfect, not a rabid environmentalist, I just do my best. But I was like, if I'm looking, I bet other people are looking. And we decided around that same time to move back to the U.S. And I said, having a break from fundraisers and grant writing actually sounds pretty good. Maybe I could try this from a different angle. My dad had always had small businesses, so it didn't seem crazy to me to start a business, even though it's something I'd never done. And I called my sister and I said, hey, I have this idea. I'm thinking about trying to figure out a way that people can, at the time, and this is going to betray my age, I was thinking about how Netflix got started. And I don't know if you remember this, but originally you would get CDs in the mail or DVDs in the mail, and then you'd watch them and then you send them back.
Send back. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, why can't we just do that for bottles? And she was like, yeah, okay, I'll try that. neither one of us obviously had any idea what we were getting into. And that was May 2015. We moved back that summer, and it took us about a year and a half to, sort of figure out how to make that happen, how to make it a reality, how to talk about it, how to find containers, how to make a website, all of those pieces. And so when you say we started with the mission, I mean, really it was, how can I solve this problem for myself and then maybe help other people solve this problem?
Absolutely. Do you find that, well, first, what's, coming together, going from nonprofit world to private business, how was that transition, and what was sort of the big learning curve for you there? Because that hadn't have been easy.
It's funny. It's not as different, I don't think, as people think. I mean, so much of it is the same. And I actually think part of our success has been that we treat our customers like I would treat donors. We take customer service very seriously. We take feedback from customers very seriously. We incorporate a lot of it. We ask a lot of questions. So I think actually in some ways it was a benefit to come from that world.
Absolutely.
And I was not constrained by a business education in some ways. I mean, I had a ton of learning to do not get me wrong. I still am, reading books and reading magazines, and, people will ask, people, what are your KPIs? And I'm like, now what would that stand for? I'm trying to know the answer. I just need to understand the question a little bit better.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I had to get comfortable with charging for things. And, making sure that not only I charge, but I charge enough to keep going, and pay other people and buy more supplies. And that was great having my sister, who was not hampered by a nonprofit background. And she and I, in so many ways, come at things from different angles. She has a design background. She's much more of a product hound than I am. And, as I said, didn't have that background in nonprofits, had been in the business world. And so she and I kind of each pull each other to get to a place where we're both happy. And it's really worked for us.
That's amazing. It sounds like you've been able to leverage both your strengths and really helping develop a full, a great company in a short amount of time, and that as well. How do you feel like that mission or that purpose behind what you do, how has it been able to catapult you far quicker, or
definitely.
Do you feel like...
I mean, for us, definitely. I mean, it's helped in a very crowded marketplace be a differentiator. It's helped us stand out a little bit. The packaging is different. There's a lot of obviously great personal care products. There's a lot of great natural vegan personal care products out there, but sort of that along with this service of taking back the containers, of knowing that you're not contributing to waste in the world, has helped us stand out, and, has helped get support from our customers, has helped grassroots marketing efforts. We've worked with a ton of bloggers, and we've been able to add sort of that zero waste space to the clean beauty, vegan beauty. So it's definitely benefited us. I don't think we would have had nearly the success we've had without it.
Awesome. I fully agree. And do you feel, so for those people maybe don't know how this works, I know there's a clear video on your website, which we'll highlight in details below, but tell us sort of the process one would go through as a consumer to work.
Yeah. So you would come to our website which is Plaine with an E. That's our shared maiden name was Della Plaine. So that's part of where that came from. Awesome. But then also kind of a plain and simple solution. I mean, this isn't really, other than you buy it on a website, it's not a tech solution. It's kind of just going back to basics. So anyway, I got sidetracked. PlaineWithAnEproducts.com, and you pick your product. We've got 16 different options up there and a few scent options. You order it. It comes to you in a post-consumer recycled box that we also reuse. It comes with a pump. You put the pump on, you start using it, and then when you're running low, you order a refill, or you can subscribe and we'll send that refill automatically. And this is where things are a little bit different. So you get the refill. We don't send a second pump. We just let you switch that pump over. And along with that refill comes a return label. So when you're done, you stick the empty bottle in that box the refill came in, stick the return label on the outside, and it comes back to us for free. And then we drain them, wash them, and get them refilled and send them back out into the world.
easy peasy for the consumer side. I mean,
that was
it's a no-brainer.
That was the goal, was to have it be, lower as many barriers to participating as possible. There are some amazing people in the world who can get an empty shampoo bottle out of their bathroom and to a place to refill it and back in the same day. And I am not one of those people. I can barely do that with my cashews. So
Yeah.
I, again, in solving my own problems, I was looking for, something that would work for me. And then again, hopefully for other people. And some people don't have a refill store, that's close to them. We had somebody email in and they're like, why should I do your project or your, buy from you when I can go down the street? And I was like, you shouldn't go down the street. Good for you. It's great if you can make that work. I was like, this is for people who can't go down the street, or, it just doesn't work for their life.
Right. It's built around their lifestyle. Now, you touched on something really interesting. It's, how are you seeing the change in personal habits, or how are you helping people shift their habits around this? Because for some people, it's challenging. I know for myself, I'm still working at it.
Oh, I mean, it is certainly not something that you do overnight. And we really, try and reinforce this progress, not perfection mantra of, let's not beat ourselves up over the times we don't do it. Let's just celebrate the times we do. As I said, I'm far from perfect. I mean, we're on our way to soccer and my son forget his water bottle. Yeah, we're going to stop and grab a Gatorade. I mean, that's just the way life goes.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think, we got really lucky in that plastic is becoming something that more people are talking about than they were 5 years ago, even when we were getting started. I think this realization that we've been convinced that disposability is the most important thing, that we should just be able to throw everything away with no consequences. We're starting to realize that's not true. That there is no away.
Right.
We all
I think
live on this planet together with all of our trash.
Right. And I think you had mentioned in another speaking engagement, but that I didn't realize that not all of our recyclables are actually going to be recycled.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, unfortunately, that is the case. There is just not a real market for plastic. Plastic is part of the oil refining process. So when they pull it up out of the ground, they split it up into a bunch of parts, and the stuff that they use to make plastic is sort of a byproduct. So they can sell it incredibly cheaply. It's being made regardless. So they're just thrilled to get money for it. So it is cheap.
Wow.
So, when they recycle plastic, not a lot of people need it because the virgin stuff is so cheap. So most places, it's not worth the money to recycle it. And then until recently, we were sending it to China, and they've decided they no longer want it. So we are sending a lot of it to Asia, and there's been a lot of press about the plastic in the ocean, and that a lot of it, is in Asia. And I think everybody was like, oh, it's their fault. Well, unfortunately, a lot of it's plastic that we shipped over there. So, again, there is no away. Just because we put something, unfortunately, in a recycle bin or in a trash can doesn't mean that it's not going to be a problem down the line. And for a long time, we had enough space to pretend like that was the truth. But I think we're all starting to figure out it's not. And then, the other piece that I probably was talking about is that even when plastic is recycled, they have to melt it down. So they can only do that once or twice before it becomes unusable.
Right.
So, plastic, even though it's great that it is recycled, is unfortunately still going to end up in a landfill or the ocean someday. So, while that may make sense for, a car or a building or a piece of furniture that at least you're going to get, hopefully 20 years worth out of it, for, something that we're going to use once and then throw away, unfortunately, it just doesn't make a ton of sense.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And the whole idea of, we have to start now is basically what you're saying. And this is a great way to do that, is to start changing our habits little by little.
And just, I think first is just the realization. It's not something I ever thought about. Oh, plastic lasts forever. Like, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Every piece of plastic that's ever been created is still here. There may be more plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050. I mean, you hear these things and then you start to think about them, and then you start to look around your house and you're like, oh my, look, plastic everywhere.
Look
everywhere.
I know my retainers are plastic. I wear braces.
But there you go. At least,
but
those are not single use. So you're going to get a good, you're getting some use out of those. And that, that's a place where plastic makes sense. Like, what else are you going to use for that? But there are tons of things that we use plastic for that we don't need to. We've just sort of been sold this bill of goods that, why not? It's cheap. It just disappears. You just throw it away, and that's what I think we all need to start questioning a little bit more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And why yourself are you so passionate about, we need to take care of our earth? What is it about? What got you into getting passionate about that?
I've got to live in a beautiful place. And I think that is part of it. I have a son, and I really want him to not be swimming in an ocean with more plastic than fish in it. But I mean, we all live here. And the thought, I learned when we were doing environmental education, nobody wants to be doing bad things. Nobody wants to be harming the planet. They just don't think about it. And I think that more than anything just motivated me to say, well, let's have these conversations. Let's think about it. Let's help raise awareness. Let's help people think about what happens when they throw something away. I had somebody, a super high-powered businessman I was meeting with in the Bahamas, and he was like, well, what happens when we throw trash in the ocean? And I was like, what do you think happens? Like, it's there. It's what something eats it. What do you mean?
My gosh.
I think that's just part of it is, when you sort of have a realization, you want to try and help other people have that. And I have to be careful that I don't, obsess about it too much. I'm like, oh, people are getting it. And then I'm like, oh, that's just in my feed. Wait, probably in everybody's social media feed does not look like mine does. So, and also that piece of not having it be overwhelming. And not having it be judgy and not, somebody the other day, was like, oh my God, I'm carrying a plastic water bottle and you're seeing me. And I was like, no, that's not the conversation I want to have. I don't want you to avoid me because you're carrying a plastic water bottle, but maybe next time, you'll carry something else. That'd be great.
Well, hopefully more and more people will, realize it and have awareness first is the key, is what you're saying. And then, starting with some small things. I know, I think I still have those little tiny bottles of travel bottles that I used when I used to travel, that held my shampoo and conditioner. I think I still have them in my closet somewhere. It's they don't leave, and you buy them, and, so I think what you're doing is fantastic. And putting people in that purpose first. I would love to hear more about, your culture at Plaine Products and how you've been able to embed this idea into the everyday processes, brand strategies, all that.
Yeah, I think a few different ways. I think first is that ethos of we're here to help people. We're here to solve a problem. And so in that way, a lot of our feed, a lot of what we do is education and awareness. I sometimes joke, I was like, you'd be hard pressed to tell that we're selling something if you looked at our feed. But that makes me comfortable. And that's probably the nonprofit girl in me. I'm comfortable coming from a place of awareness and education. And hey, if that means that buying this will work for you, great. But if that means that you start making your own shampoo or go to a refill shop or, whatever, that's great too. And I really mean that. And I think, as we've brought on customer service and social media people, we've really tried hard to have that be our first foot forward. And, all of our customer service team, I'm like, just make people happy. Just, if they want information, give them information. If they don't like it, take it back. We just really try hard to be there for our customers and be a company that I'd want to deal with. If stuff bugs me about other companies, we try not to do it. So that's part of it too. And then, as I said, having a mission just makes it easier for me to talk about it. I think makes all of us feel good. There are always parts of any job that you're like, oh, I've got to do the financial.
Yeah.
But it helps when you are getting notes from customers saying, thanks so much. I've been looking for you. I'm so thrilled to do this. Or we really appreciate what you're doing for the planet. Like that just makes everything else a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Are there any ways that you could think of that your team might demonstrate like living on the purpose or
yeah, I mean, I think, again, even for people not on the social media team, we all kind of reach out to each other for ideas about, new products or new ways to do things or, smart life hacks. We're all in Slack together. We'll post if we find other products that we think are cool and we'll share them with everyone. So a lot of us are living this. And we all get excited about other products, other places, other news articles. I mean, we share that amongst ourselves as much as we share it with our followers and everything else. So I think that is definitely true. And I think people that choose to come work for us, we do our best as we interview people to sort of make sure that that is a lifestyle that fits with them. And that they're on board with it, not super hardcore, not, but an interest, in it, a desire to live more that way is important because actually I think it'd be sort of weird for you if you weren't like that in our company culture. That we're all like nerding out about this new, loofah plant sponge. And we're like, oh my God, you can grow it. It's so cool. Have you seen this? And so if you're
my gosh, is that for real?
Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
It's for real. You can grow your own loofahs.
Oh my gosh. You have to send me that.
That's what I'm kind of like. These are the kinds of conversations that we're having offline and then, share online. So you kind of got to be, you got to be up for that. You got to be, to just sort of, be a part of this. And so it's great. It's great that people are, and from different places. We've got the gardeners, we've got the people that are into every app and always following the newest thing. And so we all bring something to the table.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that type of passion and alignment creates, it's infectious, in a very positive way. People want to be a part of that and, having that mission first and certainly does help with that.
Yeah. And
sure.
Again, we all have our like days. And it helps when other people are still feeling positive and excited and have something, that they're like pumped about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are there any, it says, so you're a B Corp. So can you tell everyone a little bit, I know what that means, but tell people that don't know.
B Corp is this idea that business can be used for good, which is something that we're definitely on board with. It's planet, profits, and people, I think is the triple bottom line. So you are assessed. Oh my gosh, are you assessed? It is quite the process.
It's lengthy.
Lengthy. And so we did it early on and it was hard, but it was great for me, again, as part of my sort of business education to say, oh, these are all the things I need to be thinking about. These are all the stuff I need to be putting in place. These are the questions I need to be able to answer, which was so helpful. So,
and it holds you, accountable in a lot of ways to your own mission.
Which is, I think, also really important. Doing some of this stuff some of it's a pain in the butt and it's, more expensive and it takes more time. And so it is really good to know that every few years you're going to have to answer these questions again and be able to document that you did it. I'm a big believer in accountability. I mean, I'm one of those people that struggled for sure during lockdown because I need to meet somebody at the gym. Like I need to know that somebody's checking in on me. So again, for me, incredibly helpful to know that was coming around. And I think everybody should have to do it. Honestly, I think every business should be doing this. And it's a shame that it's just not the way things are done. Not yet. I'm hoping, it's definitely growing. And I think the more it is, the more pressure, hopefully there will be on others to fall in line.
And I would love to hear you talk a little bit about what's the benefit for the employees with a B Corp, because I don't know if people understand that
first of all, I'd make sure everybody's paid a living wage, which seems only fair. That ask that, what are your time off? Do they get special training? Just all of those things that you've documented all of that everybody's being treated equally, that there's some transparency. I mean, all of those things, again, that should be expected. It's just somebody sort of checking in with you to make sure that you're doing it.
Yeah. And bringing new light to things too, that this maybe seems so mundane, but are overlooked at sometimes, by everyone. It's a good place to.
It's super hard for anybody that's starting a business to think about everything all the time. I mean, it's so easy, and we all have our blind spots. I am terrible at process, like documenting and writing stuff down. I'm like, yeah, we'll just figure that out as we go. So again,
you're the visionary.
That's a nice term for it. I'm not sure that's what the people in our company would call me. But again, really nice to be forced to spell out what the vacation thing is, and can people take time off for volunteering? Like, it never occurred to me to say, yes, you should get paid for some volunteering. And so, I read that BCorp. It's like, oh, I should say that out loud. Yeah. Like, I would think that everybody would know that I would be cool with that, but I never said it out loud. So I was like, yes, especially if you're doing something environmental, of course, like, go do it. That's awesome.
It brings a formality to some things.
Formality, and just like reminding us to say it and do it, and write it down, which is important.
Yep. How do you feel like putting people in purpose first has impacted the bottom line? An impact?
I mean, huge in a different way. I mean, could we, in theory, have made more money in the short term without it? Sure. But I think our long-term success, I think, most of the people that are with us have been with us since the beginning. We haven't lost really anybody, like one, maybe one or two people, but not because they weren't happy, because other things are going on in their lives. We have a great team, and I really think it's because, we take care of each other, and the business has a good purpose, and you just can't put a value on that. And people do a good job. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because they care and they like it. I'm like, it's scary as a founder to hire people and have them do the things that you were doing, because you're like, no, that's mine. Like, no, like, that's not how I do that. And it's even more exciting to hire people and then have them do it better.
Yes.
And that was really hard for me to bring people on and to let go of stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, whew, I would not have done that well. So I think that's part of it too, is when you bring people in and they get passionate and they feel strongly, and you're taking care of them, and they know you care about them, they do a good job. Mm-hmm. And
absolutely.
There's no faking
that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is your biggest failure when it comes to putting people in purpose first, and what did you learn from it?
I think I struggled with the pricing thing. It's funny. Our price point is not that much if you compare us to other vegan, all natural products. But I came into this whole world cold. I was like, shampoo, $4 a bottle at Swab. Like, that's great. And then I was like, oh, this is basically chemicals and water. Oh, this is detergents and like endocrine disruptors that I'm putting in my body.
Yeah.
Oh, this is plastic that's going to be here for millions of years, and also has nasty chemicals in it. So it was a huge learning curve for me as we started this. And then I was like, well, when we got to a point where we're like, all right, well, this is what we have to charge to be able to like stay in business. I had my own like about that. And I still, we do our best to be very transparent about it. People are like, why is it so much? And I'm like, here's why it's so much. these are all of the reasons Amazon ruined everybody for paying for shipping. That's not my fault, but that is the reality of the situation. And, you know, it costs money to have an aloe-based product instead of a water-based product. And it costs money to bring the bottles back.
Right.
And, you know, here's why. And for the most part, people are like, okay, good to know.
Yeah, there's that transparency again. You're showing
because
them.
I don't want people to think that, oh, she's just jetting around in a Lear on the back of my shampoo. That is not the case. Even our own team was shocked at what we spent on postage in a year. Like I put up a little graph of like what we spent money on last year, and it was like product, people, and postage. Those are the 3 Ps in our world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just getting comfortable with that in the business world is tough. And and I think the other thing is just it does take more time. It does take more money. And that all pays off in the long run. But there are definitely like, you know, the devil on your shoulder, like you could do this really cheap if you just, you know, really quick if you just did it this way. So
yeah. What do you think holds you true to the mission and the vision?
I'm a big fan of the like don't do anything you wouldn't want to be made public. You know, like don't. So yeah, I guess that's integrity. But guilty conscience, I don't know. I wasn't raised Catholic, but I feel like I must have been in a former life. You know, so just that. Like, yeah,
the little devil on the side of your
versus
the angel.
So, you know, maybe it is being a B Corp. Maybe it knows that I'll have to answer questions. I mean, I'm sure you could get around it if you really wanted to, but just that, you know, that knowing that if somebody asks me, I want to be able to give an answer that I'm happy with, that I'm proud of. So, you know, there are definitely times I'm like, well, all right, I can do this way, I can do that way. Somebody's going to ask one day. Do it the right, or I'm going to have to talk to the company about it. I'm going to have to talk to my coworkers about it. I'm going to have to talk to my sister about it, you know. I mean, she and I have definitely had some like, here's the right thing to do. Here's the cheap thing to do. Like, what are we going to do? You know, conversations. For sure. I mean, everybody does. And sometimes it's just nice to have those out loud because as soon as you say it, you're like, well, this is what we have to do.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And that's a great thing about having a co-founder, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. And having be your sister. I mean, I have 2 younger sisters myself. So, I mean, working together, how has that been?
We are in different physical locations. And I think that is both a blessing and a curse. I mean, there are times when it's like, I am going to hang up the phone right now. And you and I should not talk for a little bit. For everybody's well-being, like, or like, oh, today is just one of those days. Let's not have that conversation today, you know. And we're able to sort of like just do that, put it on the back burner, and
put on the back burner,
and then talk about this. You know, some days it's hard. You know, like she's overwhelmed in the warehouse or something's going on, and I feel terrible that I'm not there. I'm sure she feels terrible that I'm not there. So it's good and bad. I mean, I'm super lucky in that we have a great relationship and we know how to fight. And we also know what our strengths and weaknesses are. You know, there are things that I sense, label design stuff in general, how stuff looks, that I just say, you know, okay, you're right. I'm sure you're right. We're going to go with that. I mean, mostly we agree, but if we don't, you know, I know where to defer to her. And then, you know, she's the same with me. Like, okay, if that's what it costs, that's what it costs. If that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do. Like, you know, do this.
Right. That's great to have a partner like that. It sounds like
incredibly helpful. I mean, we don't have to have those fights, which I don't know how you survive that. You know, constantly disagreeing about everything. So it is great to just be like,
and it sets the tone for all the culture and everyone else too within the company to know that there's a strong foundation, strong leadership and respect.
I haven't thought about it that way. But yeah, I hope it does. For sure. I mean, I'm laughing because we were interviewing somebody and like we were on Zoom and like we were fighting about which one of us like was screwing Zoom up because we couldn't hear each other. And this third person hopped on and we're like, it's your fault. Why don't you? I was like, hi. Well, you're seeing it. I mean, we just laughed
Oh,
and it
gosh.
was fine, and we figured it out. I'm sure it was my fault, and we figured it out. But I was like, okay, yeah.
But people are able to feel the authenticity and comfortable, and I'm sure that
really
helps permeate
hard. I mean, I am certainly the first one to always, own like, guess what stupid thing I did, which I think helps. And, to also say like, take some time off, like, make sure you have some downtime. Are you doing okay? All of those things, and to encourage people. I'm a workaholic, but it is good for me to say I need to take some time off. So I read somewhere that like nobody will take time off if the boss doesn't take time off. So I'm like, I need to take some time off. Like I need to say I'm taking some time off, although I'm not always great about it, but I try really hard to, I'm like, I'm on vacation, but I'm still eating.
Hey, I understand. I'm a recovering workaholic. So,
but there are days I'm like, all right, I'm just putting the phone down today and I'm not taking it with me. So.
Yep. So what advice would you give a business leader who wants to really build an organization around purpose, around that mission?
For me, it's, find a problem to solve or something that you can get excited about, that you can feel good about talking about. It helps that I like talking about this and feel strongly about it. And maybe that's just me. But certainly, if somebody does want to build something with purpose, it has to be real. It does have to be authentic. It has to be, something that you truly believe does make a bit of a difference. But then I'd also caution you to like, there is no one solution. Like, just remember that as great as an idea you have, it's not going to save the world all by itself. So it's important to have a little bit of perspective in that too. Not everybody's going to fall at your feet, and you gotta, just keep a little bit, not everybody's living in your bubble.
Right. And so what's next for Plaine Products? Do you have anything on the horizon?
Just launched an unscented line, which I never thought I would say that I'm excited about, but I'm excited about. Didn't occur, we work really hard, again, on the natural side. We only use essential oils for fragrance. Big learning curve for me. The word fragrance on a bottle can mean anything, turns out. It can mean a bunch of toxic chemicals to make it smell even unscented. So we we have a rosemary mint vanilla and a citrus lavender. I like the rosemary mint vanilla. My sister likes the citrus lavender, of course. But a lot of people are like, we can't even do essential oils. Please just do something unscented. And so we're trying that out, and people really seem to be embracing it. So again, happy that I can solve a problem for somebody.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you really listen to your customers as well.
Thing, and it was hilarious because we talked to our manufacturer, and they're like, "Oh, it smells terrible without scent," and we just believed them. And then finally, we kept getting it. And I was saying, like, "Look, I'm sorry. They tell us it smells terrible. Like nobody wants that." Somebody was like, "I don't care. I do want that." So I was like, "Well, let's just get a sample and see how bad it is." And my sister got it, and she was like, "It smells like nothing. It smells like every soap. It smells like nothing. They're wrong. They were wrong."
Oh my God.
We've been living a lie for 3 years. We were so mad.
Oh my gosh.
So mad. So we were like, oh, we can totally do this. So we did. Oh yeah, it was infuriating.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a lesson.
There's a lesson.
Just because somebody you think they know more than you, they don't always know more than you. And the other thing that I'm super excited about, again, requested, is we are starting to work with refill shops. So we've been able to figure out a way to do 3.5 gallon buckets.
Awesome.
That we can send out to refill shops around the country. And then the buckets fit in our bottle washer, so we can take them back and reuse them. So, yes,
awesome.
super
Congratulations.
Super excited. You asked earlier, and I meant to say this, but what changes are you seeing? We're super excited to see refill shops popping up around the country. And they are more and more. And I just, I believe it's part of this, people starting to say, oh, maybe we need to do this differently. So
the rise of the conscious consumers.
I really do see that. And that we're super excited about it.
Awesome. And how can people come to follow you and join in your journey in reducing the world's single plastic
Plaine
reuse?
was an E, Plaine Products, and that's the website. And actually, we're lucky. That's our handle on all of the social channels. So if you just search Plaine Products on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all the places, we're there. I personally am on Clubhouse. I do not understand it yet. So you can find me. I am not maybe I'll join something at some point. But we're on TikTok. It's so funny. One of our coworkers' sons actually put us on TikTok. And then, so.
Oh my gosh. Cool.
We're everywhere.
You're everywhere.
Varying degrees of success.
Awesome. That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you again so much for being here on Purpose First Podcast. It's a joy to talk to you and hear about Plaine Products and your passion. And I just can't wait to see how things just keep growing for you.
I mean, as we said, awareness and just having people think about and talk about these issues is a huge part of our mission. So I really, really, really appreciate opportunities to talk about it and new platforms and just you taking the issue and what we're trying to do here seriously. So thank you very much.